A little girl sits alone at a table, her legs swinging nervously beneath her chair. In front of her, on a pristine white plate, lies a single fluffy marshmallow. She's only 5 years old, but at this moment, she carries a burden of decision heavier than it seems. The room is quiet. Sunlight slants through the window, illuminating the sugary treat like a spotlight on a stage. She reaches out and gently presses a fingertip into the marshmallow's soft surface. It's as pillowy and sweet as she imagined. Her stomach gives a tiny rumble. A minute feels like an hour at that age, and each tick of the clock on the wall is louder than the last. Just one little bite, she thinks. The emptiness of the room seems to encourage her. No one would know. The sweet scent is almost irresistible now. She picks up the marshmallow and brings it close to her face. The sugar on its surface glistens. Her mouth waters. For a moment, she closes her eyes. The world narrows to this one temptation and the wild drumbeat of her heart. Wait, she remembers suddenly. The promise. If she can wait just a little longer, something wonderful will happen. With a soft whimper of effort, she pulls the treat away from her lips. Her small hand trembles as she sets it back down. Time stretches on. She folds her arms tightly across her chest, as if physically restraining herself from grabbing that marshmallow again. Every second that passes is a battle between two voices in her mind. One pleading for the sugary bliss right now, the other gently urging patience. Her fingers drum on the table. She swings her feet and hums a little tune to distract herself. Anything to keep from giving in. Somewhere beyond the door, there are footsteps approaching. Her eyes dart toward the sound. Hope sparks. She bites her lip, holding on just a little longer. In this quiet, sunlit room, a profound test is underway. Delayed gratification, the Marshmallow Test. This scenario isn't a mere story. It's drawn from a classic experiment in the late 1960s that came to be known as the Marshmallow Test. In that real experiment, children were left alone in a room with one tempting marshmallow and a simple deal. If they could refrain from eating it for a short while, around 15 minutes, they would be rewarded with a second marshmallow. If they gave in and ate the treat immediately, there would be no second marshmallow. It was a simple choice that felt enormous to a child. One sweet now, or two sweets later. Some children caved almost at once, unable to resist the beckoning treat. Others managed to wait, often by inventing clever distractions for themselves, covering their eyes, singing songs, even turning their backs on the marshmallow as if it were a dangerous creature they must not look at. In the end, only about 1/3 of the children successfully waited long enough to earn the second marshmallow. For those young ones, the moment the researcher returned with an approving smile and an extra treat was pure triumph. But the story didn't end there. What they found confirmed a hunch. On average, the kids who had resisted temptation fared better later in life. Years down the line, those patient children coped with stress more effectively and achieved more in school and beyond. Of course, life isn't as simple as wait and succeed. Many forces shape our destinies. Yet the Marshmallow Test revealed something telling. The ability to delay gratification, even in childhood, can be a powerful asset. At its heart, delayed gratification is the notion of sacrificing a bit of pleasure now in exchange for a greater reward later. It sounds straightforward, but as anyone who has ever tried to stick to a diet, save money, or resist hitting snooze knows, it's anything but easy. In that quiet room, the little girl's struggle was not really about a marshmallow at all. It was a microcosm of a battle we all face in life, over and over. The battle between impulse and foresight, between the craving of the present and the promise of the future. Psychologists tell us this battle is baked into our very brains. Deep inside, we're wired to want now, an ancient instinct that urges us to seize pleasure and avoid pain immediately. lest the chance never comes again. But layered over that primal urge is the part of us that can imagine the future and weigh long-term consequences. When the little girl restrained herself, it was this rational, future-focused side of her mind, gently shushing the inner voice that screamed for instant delight. So why does waiting matter so much? Because many of life's greatest rewards still require patience. The discipline to delay gratification gives us the freedom to pursue our deeper goals without being derailed by every passing impulse. In those small moments of choice, like a child resisting a treat, the groundwork of character is laid. Each time we choose patience, we strengthen a vital muscle within us and bring ourselves a step closer to the life we truly wish to lead. However, cultivating this kind of patience is a challenge as old as humanity itself. Long before psychologists studied willpower in children, thinkers and sages grappled with the same question. How do we master our desires instead of letting them master us? To explore that, we need to step back about 2,000 years to an ancient school of thought that understood the power of waiting, temperance, the ancient virtue. In ancient Greece, long before laboratories and marshmallows, philosophers were wrestling with the dilemma of desire and self-control. Aristotle, one of history's great thinkers, spoke of the virtue of temperance, the practice of moderating our urges and appetites. To be temperate, in Aristotle's view, was to find the golden mean between overindulgence and rigid denial. It meant enjoying life's pleasures, but never letting them rule you. For Aristotle, this kind of self-mastery was nothing less than the foundation of a virtuous life. He understood that the struggle playing out in the mind of that child with the marshmallow is a universal human struggle. In fact, Aristotle likened our unruly desires to a needy child within us, a child who wants candy for breakfast and cannot see past the present moment. Temperance is the guiding parent, gently but firmly teaching that inner child, ensuring our appetites stay under the wise control of reason. The ancient Greeks were not against pleasure, far from it. They simply recognized that pleasure, unbridled and chased without restraint, could easily enslave a person. Consider how Aristotle might view the little girl and her marshmallow. He might smile and say she is learning one of the earliest lessons of virtue, that sometimes by losing a moment of pleasure, we gain something far greater. In a way, life can be approached like a game of strategy. A chess master will sacrifice a pawn now to secure a queen later. Similarly, a person practicing temperance gives up the smaller reward of right now in order to reap a richer reward in the future. Patience in this light isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Aristotle even suggested that conquering one's own desires is the greatest victory a person can achieve. To him, defeating the urge to devour that marshmallow would be a more meaningful triumph than defeating an enemy in battle, because the hardest battles are the ones we fight within ourselves. Winning those battles, attaining that inner balance and self-command, was, in Aristotle's eyes, a key to real happiness and flourishing. Still, living with temperance was hard, even in Aristotle's time, when life moved slower and pleasures were simpler. How much harder is it in our time, in a world that seems to shove temptation at us from every direction? Modern life, temptation everywhere. We live in an era of almost instant everything. At the touch of a button, food arrives at our door, entertainment streams without end, and a message can circle the globe in a heartbeat. In this modern life, waiting can feel like a relic of the past. We don't have to wait a week for the next episode of a show. We can binge entire seasons in one sitting. Even the natural pauses in our day, those moments of boredom that once nudged us into daydreaming or reflection, are now immediately filled by the glow of a smartphone screen. Temptation isn't hiding in the shadows anymore. It's flashing in our pockets, buzzing on our wrists, blinking from billboards at every turn. Every few minutes, a new notification begs for our attention, Look now, respond now, consume now. Social media apps lure us with an endless scroll of dopamine hits. Online stores entice us with one-click purchases and next-day delivery, urging us to splurge on things we know we don't need. The world around us has become one grand, perpetual marshmallow test. Countless small impulses luring us to trade what we want most for what we want now. Living in this whirlwind of instant gratification, it's easy to feel as though we're losing a part of ourselves. That inner strength that once helped us persevere through delay. We might catch ourselves becoming captive to our own habits, mindlessly refreshing feeds, reaching for a snack the moment we feel the slightest hunger, jumping from one impulse to the next without pause. And yet, there is hope and power in recognizing this situation for what it is. If modern life is a storm of temptation, then choosing patience and self-control is like finding the calm eye of that storm. Every time we ignore the ping of a notification to stay focused on our work, every time we resist buying something unnecessary, every time we wait instead of instantly indulging, we are quietly defying the pull of the modern world. It's a small act of rebellion, a statement that we will not be ruled by impulse. In those moments, we prove to ourselves that, even now, we still hold the reins of our own lives. Think about it. The same muscle of patience that a child flexes to earn a second marshmallow is available to us in the 21st century, every single day. You can choose to let the phone ring and stay present in the conversation you're having. You can choose to sit with a bit of discomfort now, a craving, a boredom, an urge, and know that by overcoming it, you're strengthening your ability to shape your future. In a world frantically shouting, now, 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 the decision to wait, to pause, to delay is not just difficult, it's heroic. Now, how do we hold on to temperance when everything around us accelerates? Perhaps by remembering that every temptation resisted is a victory, however small. By reminding ourselves that patience isn't about denying pleasure forever, but about timing our joys for when they will mean the most. And by keeping sight of what we truly want in the long run. When you know your deeper goals, your own vision of that second marshmallow in life, it becomes a little easier to let the first one sit untouched. In this age of instant everything, the virtue of patience shines like a beacon. It invites us to slow down when everything else speeds up. It invites us to reclaim our time, our attention, our self-respect from the frenzy of instant gratification. It reminds us that no matter how advanced our world becomes, the sweetest rewards still often come to those who have the strength to wait. Now step into that quiet room with the marshmallow. In so many moments of our lives, we are that little child, alone with a tempting choice. No one else can make the decision for us. No one else may even see the battle going on inside. Maybe for you, the battle comes when you're about to speak an angry retort, but hold your tongue at the last second to keep the peace. Maybe it's when you resist the urge to check your phone for the 10th time in an hour so you can stay truly present. These moments pass in an instant, and often without any applause or recognition. But they matter. Oh, how they matter. If you listen closely in those moments, you might hear the quiet voice of your better self, encouraging you just like the researcher encouraged that little girl. Hold on a little longer. You're stronger than this impulse. Trust the promise of what's to come. That voice is your ally. It speaks with the calm urgency of someone who knows that there's something precious waiting on the other side of this struggle. Each time you heed that voice, you're not just avoiding a mistake or postponing a pleasure. You are actively building something within. Patience, courage, self-respect. These begin to take root and grow. You realize you can endure the discomfort of wanting without immediately giving in. In doing so, you prove to yourself that you, not your impulses, are in control. You start to trust yourself more because you've seen that your word to yourself means something. Remember that ancient wisdom and modern science agree on this point. The ability to master our impulses shapes our destiny. The virtues Aristotle praised and the psychological strengths we measure today are two sides of the same truth. They both tell us that what we do in those small moments of choice will echo across the years of our life. So when you find yourself face to face with a marshmallow moment in your own life, take a breath. Feel the weight of that moment and also the weight of your own strength. In that pause, hear Aristotle's gentle counsel and recall the triumph in that 5-year-old's eyes. Know that you are not alone. Countless others have sat where you sit, heart pounding with desire, and somehow found that fragment of willpower to carry them through.